Welcome. It is 7 o'clock. I'm calling this Germantown School District Board of Education meeting to order. Please join me, if you're able, to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Official media notification. Dr. Southland.
Yes, public notice of all meetings has been given by communication from the superintendent's office to the public, to those media who have requested such notices, and to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Northwest Now, Express News, and West Bend Daily News. Public notice has also been posted in schools throughout the district and on the gsdwi.org website, as well as cable access channel 96.
Roll call. Mr. Barney.
Medved.
Here.
Reineman.
Here.
Soderberg.
Here.
Loth is absent excused. Ewert. Is here virtually. And Pollock.
Here.
Approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda with the slight change that 6E is moved to new business and is now 10J.
Second.
Reineman makes a motion. Pollock makes a second. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item 3, reports. Graduation ceremony, Board of Education. This is usually where the board gives an update on the graduation. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend this year, so I'll turn it over to the members that were there, and if they want to give the highlights of the day, that would be great. I hear it went well, and I personally would like to thank all the hard work that goes into putting in on a successful graduation. I know a lot of hands on deck for making that a successful event, so. Bob?
This was my last graduation that I'll be attending because I'm not seeking re-election in the spring. And I just have to say that as the board president now, as a director, that is the funnest job that we have, is going to graduation. Not only did the staff do a great job, but the venue was wonderful, and the kids, having them walk up on that stage it's pretty cool. I would like to recognize Amanda for giving a much shorter speech than I would have given. She did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And the colleagues, our colleagues were there, and it was great. And Brett, that was your last graduation too, so I'm sorry to see you go, but we're happy for you. But it was a fun event.
Mr. Barney?
I think the thing that stood out to me was the lengthy ovation that all of our students that are going into the military got. I mean, it just seemed like that went on forever.
Yeah.
So that was outstanding.
We are definitely proud of our students. I think that they did a phenomenal job. The atmosphere in and of itself was just wonderful. It was great for everybody to be there. The staff did an amazing job putting everything together, as they always do. It was, like Mr. Soderberg said, it's the best part of this job. So it was great.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, Germantown High School Graduate 2022 Academic Career Planning.
Yeah, and
Mr.
I'll have
Smith?
Mr. Ryder speak a little bit, but David Smith, is our, was hired mid-year for the dean position and ACP coordinator at the high school, and later in the agenda, you'll be asked to approve him being the assistant principal at the high school. And he's done a remarkable job coming in mid-year and getting to know the high school as well as getting to know the kids and the programs. And I think you're going to be impressed with the amount of work he's done around the ACP piece. And I know Mr. Ryder is going to work with Joel and David that he retains this piece in his new role, because he's got a lot of specialty in it. So, Chris.
Thanks. I would echo what Dr. Stousen said. David's been here 4 months now, 3.5, 4 months, and what he's been able to do as a dean and build relationships, but also engage with our community and our business partners. Tonight you're going to see, he's going to give us a snapshot of the senior class of 2022 and what they accomplished in their 4 years how it aligns to academic and career planning and some of the future vision around this work, with the goal of next year bringing some of our graduated seniors to come in and speak to you as a board about their experiences in town, specifically at the high school. So I'll turn it over to David with that.
I think the biggest takeaway is the amount of success from this senior class, especially with all the challenges that they've endured. We've broken the academic career planning aspect into kind of 3 skills. We have academic, career, and life skills. So when we look at the academic skills, we have 293 graduates out of a 307 student class. That's also not taking into account students that could complete their graduate requirements over summer. We do estimate that about 10 more students could be added to that graduate class. 70% of them, 215 students, had a 2.8 or higher GPA. And again, being a school that doesn't weight their grades, that really is an outstanding mark when compared to other neighboring districts. The percentage is the same, however, our students are doing that without the extra weight. When we look at students going into a 2 or 4 year college or university, again, 72%, 221 students, and a lot of them are getting a head start with 68 already going in with college credits. If we go to the next slide, we compare the ACT scores from this year's senior class to the national averages. Although we are 1% underneath the national average in English, you see that we are well above in all of the other areas. So again, there's just tremendous growth, and our current junior coming into senior year class, their composite ACT score was actually half a point higher than this year's graduating class. So I think it speaks volumes to the staff at Germantown and their ability to develop the necessary skills in our students to help ensure that future success. Next slide, when we look at career skills, we really want to make sure that we're helping our students develop and be prepared for whatever career they may choose. Some of them are choosing careers right out of high school, and we want to make sure that they're ready for that. 31 kids are graduating with that industry-based certification. In the past, that number has been in the mid to upper 40s in the district, and while 31 is still great, that is an area that we're targeting moving forward that we want to continue to build out. We want to make our students as marketable candidates as possible and give them opportunities to complete those certifications. 61 have that work or career-based learning experience, and again, not having as many opportunities due to COVID, we're looking to continue to build that out moving forward and give students as many chances as possible to get out and interact with the community and get that industry-based experience to help them understand what they want to do moving forward. And then as you mentioned from the graduation ceremony, I mean, there's tremendous support for the students going into the armed forces. We have 9 students from this year's class that are pursuing an armed forces career. Life skills, we look at a variety of things, attendance rate, just their ability to show up and be where they need to be, and 86% is again very comparable with other districts nearby when pulling those numbers. The required personal finance literacy course, I think such an important skill for our students that all of them have completed. 80% involved in extracurriculars, and again, it is an important focus for us to get them involved in a variety of activities, get to know each other, get to connect with staff and with the community. And lastly, 71 students have completed 25 hours or more of community service throughout their time in Germantown. And as a class, they have 4,452 hours. To be honest, we haven't been able to keep track of over the last 4 years, so that is a low estimate. It is going to be significantly higher if we were to have that data, which we will have moving forward for each class, which just shows the importance of really every class at this school and their desire to get out into the community and to give back. Moving forward, one thing that we want to continue to build out is engagement in the community. We want all the parents and guardians to have a clear understanding of what their students are going to do in terms of academic and career planning. So every grade will have an ACP preview, which will show the courses that they are going to be enrolled in, whether it is a requirement or choices that they may have, activities that they'll do with Zello or other ACP work, and then graduate profile editions, assessments that they'll be taking, and artifacts. So each grade will have their own that will be shared with parents and guardians so they understand the work that their child will be doing. And their graduate portfolio is something that will develop over the course of their 4 years at the school. By the end of their senior year, they'll have a completed graduate portfolio that will help them understand what are careers that they are interested in, what steps have they taken while here at Germantown to prepare them for that, from courses to extracurriculars. They'll rank the different priorities that they have, work-life balance, money, education, different interests, and we'll also have a completed resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile. Our goal is really for them to be equipped to enter the workforce and have a clear understanding of exactly what it is that they want to do. Lastly, we're building out our company partnerships. Germantown companies are eager to get involved. They want to work with our students and they look for as many opportunities as possible, so we're really trying to capitalize on that. We were just recently meeting with a company named Felons that works with sustainable packaging and banding, and they're going to be partnering with a few different tech ed courses and providing opportunities for students to get experiential learning and hands-on learning, working with industry professionals and mentors to really understand the industry better and see if that's something that they want to pursue moving forward. We've had discussions on building this out into marketing and business classes, into the art department, so it's something that will continue to grow and just continue to leverage our relationships with the local companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah,
Bob?
thank you. I've been around for quite a while, and I think this is the first time, at least I can recall, someone's done a report out on this, and you did a wonderful job, and the data is outstanding. Question on the volunteer. I think it was 23% of our students.
Yes.
What can we do to drive that up?
I think
I would
partnering-
love to see 80, 85%.
Yeah, and I think that would be the goal, and to be honest, I do think our number is probably closer to that. Not having the previous year's data, the 4,452 hours were primarily from this year with just a little bit dipped back into last year. So currently we have all freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors current. I think what we'll see is over the next couple of years, that number will continue to grow, and by the time our current sophomores or freshmen are graduating, we'll know exactly where that number is, and then be able to continue to grow from there. I think it does primarily start with the extracurriculars. That's where they get a lot of their service opportunities, and a lot of the advisors and clubs do a great job of getting out there. I think it's continuing to reach out to the community, though, and see what other opportunities there are, and bringing them to the school rather than waiting for the clubs or organizations to reach out to look for opportunities themselves.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Item C, school security update. I believe Mr. Soderberg put this on the agenda. You have a...
Yeah, and I want to thank you for putting this on the agenda because this has been a hot topic for me. In my other full-time job, I support about 120,000 students worldwide, providing safety, security, and resiliency capabilities to them. So I'm very passionate about this. Many parents have reached out to me to bring this matter up at the board level, which is why it's on the agenda. And again, thank you for allowing this. As a country, our moral compass is not where it should be. We are desensitized towards violence, and there is a total lack of respect for the rule of law. With the tragic shooting that occurred in Uvalde, Texas, that took the lives of 19 students and 2 teachers, and the catastrophic breakdown and failure of the law enforcement response. In addition, the recent shooting at Oxford, Michigan, which was right next door to my hometown of Clarkston, Michigan, when we lived there. 4 students were killed, and the alleged failure of school staff in the handling of same. Finally, the tragic shooting in Parkland, Florida, where 17 students were killed, and again, the failure of law enforcement to engage and neutralize the shooter. I am not naive to think that it can't happen here, but it can't happen here. We want our kids to be safe and secure while in our schools, and we want them to go home. Current status. We have a very mature school safety program that we have invested significant dollars in. It is layered and consists of many strategies and capabilities to mitigate the risk of an active assailant incident. We utilize security technology, alarms and cameras, secured entrances, security laminate on our windows, bollards at both the entrances of GHS and KMS, designed to mitigate vehicle ramming attacks, compartmentalized doors at GHS that close to stop the would-be assailant from moving throughout the school, active shooter drills for staff and students, and see something, say something awareness, to name a few. We are compliant with the State of Wisconsin Act 143, which mandates the annual training of staff, the reporting of threats to law enforcement, the conducting of active assailant training, the creating of a school safety plan, to name a few. We have a wonderful relationship with our law enforcement partners, especially those that are in the Germantown School District, specifically the Germantown Police Department and the Washington County Sheriff's Department that patrol both Rockfield and Amy Bell. And finally, we have 2 school resource officers that are rock stars, 1 each at GHS and 1 at KMS, and both do a wonderful job in keeping our kiddos safe. Going forward, God forbid we ever have an active shooter event here, and if we do, I'm 100% confident that what happened in Texas and Florida will never occur here as our law enforcement partners will engage. However, saying that, over the next couple months, I would like the board to consider all or parts of the following additional layering of security that are designed to further target harden our schools, adding more resources for our kids, and ensure that we are doing all we can in the area of security to ensure that our kids go home safe and secure. Items to consider. Some of these items I'm going to talk about are certainly forward-thinking and certainly out of the mainstream discussions. But as we did, being the first school district in the state to address both Common Core and CRT, as thought leaders, I would like us to be the first district in the state to address these items publicly. Over the past several weeks, you haven't had any discussion in the media or in local paper about school security at all. It's like it's gone until it happens again. So that's why I'm talking about it now. I know that I'm only one board member, but going forward, I would like the board to consider the following. Gun-free zones. Gun-free zones do not work as the bad guys do not comply with it. As this is a federal law, I would like us to petition our lawmakers in Wisconsin to allow for the many responsible gun owners that conceal carry to be allowed to carry in gun-free zones. I welcome the extra protection that this affords. If a bad guy can carry a gun in a gun-free zone, then certainly I want a good guy carrying one too. Social media monitoring. Both the school shooter in Texas and in Michigan telegraphed on social media their intentions. Systems for monitoring open source intelligence or publicly available social media posts are gaining popularity in K through 12 education settings. Some schools and school districts are turning to social media monitoring as a response to the threat of mass shootings. Companies are marketing their social media monitoring services that focus on keywords to provide additional tools to detect violent incidents. We should research this. See something, say something awareness. We have great kids at Germantown, and based on past incidents, our kids do say something when they see something. Saying that, I would like us to enhance our awareness program by participating in the State of Wisconsin Department of Justice's Speak Up, Speak Out program that is available today through the Office of School Safety. This program consists of an app available in iOS and Android that students can download on their phones and immediately report matters via the press of a couple buttons or via phone call to their hotline. Mental health app. Self-harm and violence against others have increased drastically because of the pandemic. It is apparent that the school shooters in Florida, Michigan, and Texas needed help. Saying that, we need to create opportunities for our kids to immediately seek professional assistance, and if they don't feel comfortable talking to a fellow student, a teacher, or a counselor, they should be able to seek assistance via an app like TalkSpace or similar provider where the student can talk to a therapist in real time. We should research this. School security aid. As an extra layer of defense and to support our SROs, I would like us to consider considering hiring school security aides for GHS and KMS. The Law Enforcement Officers Safety Act, H.R. 218, allows qualified retired law enforcement officers to carry a concealed firearm in any jurisdiction in the United States, regardless of any state or local law to the contrary, with certain exceptions. As our SROs are not in GSS and KMS 100% of the time, the school security aid would add another layer of defense for our students and support the SRO if there would be an active assailant event. I would like us to research this. Concealed weapons detection systems. As installing airport-type security that consists of both magnetometers, AKA metal detectors, and X-ray machines to maximize student throughput would be a logistics nightmare and as such is not practical. We should research technology that is available today that detects concealed weapons on bodies and in bags. Detection systems such as these are used in sporting and concert venues and are set up outside of the venue and detect weapons before they can be conveyed into the building. Teacher staff concealed carry. For those teachers and staff that want to volunteer and to carry concealed in our schools, we should let them. However, current Wisconsin law does not allow for that. In the past, I was never a supporter of this. But after what occurred in Texas, I am now, and this would provide an extra layer of defense. There are 28 states that allow this, and Wisconsin should be one of them. I would like the board to discuss this. Lock the bad guys up. The police do a wonderful job in catching the bad guys, but we have activist prosecutors that brag about abolishing bail, and with the low bail that they seek today, they have routinely put violent criminals back on the streets to commit more violent crimes. Then when the bad guy does go to court, we have activist judges that are soft on crime providing weak sentences. We need to stop these prosecutors and these judges, and we need to work with our lawmakers to create laws that will stop the revolving doors of justice and require mandatory high bail and strong sentences for violent crime and for felon in possession of firearms. Why? Because what is occurring today is not working, and the bad guys continue to cause havoc on our community. Fire safety training. And finally, we should partner with a qualified supplier to facilitate firearm training for our community, as I feel there's a gap here. This could include training on secure firearm storage, handgun fundamentals, skills practice, and yes, mental health awareness signs, what to look for, and how to seek help. Thank you for taking the time to hear my thoughts. I ask that going forward over the next couple months, we discuss these items and have further conversations to strengthen our safety and security program in our schools, as we cannot allow what happened in Uvalde to occur here. Our kids and our teachers deserve to go home. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any further comments?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to add, related to that topic, I'd like to mention Billy Joe does all of the coordination of our lockdown drills and our making sure that it happens at each school, and she attends safety seminars to be to the most current, to have that most current information and brings it back. And I know she brought a couple ideas back that we've tried at some of the schools in our drills, and like I said, she's our coordinator at this point, and we're fortunate that she's kind of taken the lead on that, and it's a passion for her too.
No, I appreciate you bringing this up, Bob. We, having been on the building committee for several years and through the referendum, I think one of our focus was always safety and security, and we did invest heavily, and Bob mentioned a lot of the things. I think we didn't necessarily speak about it a lot because we didn't want to give away what we had been doing so people can get a workaround. We didn't want to give the bad guys any, ideas to work around our systems. But we have spent significantly on security. We've done a lot of good things. The active shooter training that we do in the school, the lockdown drills, there's a lot of things that go on in this school. I wish we didn't have to go down that path, but unfortunately in this day and age, it's a reality we have to face, and I think these discussions are welcome.
I was fortunate enough to participate in the process of hiring or interviewing the new buildings and grounds person. And Ms. Altendorf and I talked after those interviews, and we briefly spoke to, in effect, this topic. And I asked that basically one of the things that the new individual focuses on as he reaches out to community partners, the police, fire, et cetera, it's an opportunity for us to once again engage with local law enforcement to do the usual, to just make sure we have those things in place, but it's also an opportunity for a new set of eyes as this individual onboards to see, what areas can we improve upon, and this basically happened right around the same time. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to have those sets of eyes. It hopefully, reinforces those things that we already have in place. And thanks, Bob, for bringing up some of these topics for us to consider. But, it's also an opportunity, hopefully, for us to go, oh, there is a gap that maybe Bob didn't necessarily bring up here, or that we haven't noticed, so that we can close or eliminate those gaps as well. So.
Yeah, and I just want to say that we have a very mature school safety program. Are there always opportunities for improvement? Of course there are. But again, what happened in Uvalde, where there was a breakdown on the law enforcement response, it's not going to happen here, don't get me wrong, but once there's an event, it's over in 7 minutes. And we can't allow that to happen here. So thank you.
Russ, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Bob for bringing this topic up. Obviously, it's near and dear to my heart as far as community safety goes. I've been researching a couple different apps recently that could help us in this area, and maybe I'll bring them up at a different time, the specific functions of these apps and price and point and all that as we continue these discussions. But Bob, thank you for stepping forward and leading the way on this discussion publicly.
Thank you.
Yeah, I concur, Bob. Thanks. I appreciate all of the suggested items. I don't think anything should be off the table. I mean, we need to look at everything, and if we can't do it because law doesn't allow it, we need to petition our legislators to change the law.
And of course, you know, we know the opportunity or the challenges we have with our budget, and we're doing very well with that. But something like what I mentioned, we would require some assistance from either the state or the federal government from a funding standpoint, so.
Something to remember is some of our ESSER dollars were
Yep.
told that we could use that for additional security for our places, so there's some wiggle room there for us.
Agreed. Thank you. And thanks again, Bob. Moving on to citizen comments, we have James Canestrada, our GEA rep. Is he still here? Come on down.
I'm Jamie Canestra. I'm a math teacher at the high school. I'm just here as a GA rep, so if you have any questions, either now or later, you want to bring them up with me just as a teacher, I'll try to answer them as best I can. If not, I'll bring them to GA leadership, and then we can talk again about the topic that you had a question on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we move on, I have a couple of certificates of appreciation I'd like to present. First one would be for 10 years of dedicated service, given this 8th day of June, 2022, actually, whatever the date is, for Michael Loth, who is absent excused tonight. He has a certificate that we'll be presenting to him. And then also for 10 years of service, Tom Barney.
Yay, Tom.
Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate.
Thank you.
Have you been here for 9 years? I know the dedication it takes. Thank you for your service. Okay, moving on to item 5, approval of the minutes, May 9th, 2022, closed session, May 23rd, 2022, Board of Education, May 23rd, 2022, closed, May 26th, 2022, closed, May 31st, 2022, closed, June 13th, 2022, closed, and June 13th, 2022, closed. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve all as presented.
Second. Bob?
I'll give it to Bob. Amanda and Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Personnel Committee. Amanda.
Yes, the Personnel Committee met on June 13th, and we discussed a few things. The first one that we discussed was insurance eligibility for part-time teachers. Currently, we offer insurance for .5, which would be half-time, full-time employment. And with that, the prorated basis for insurance is there. So basically, if you're part-time, you're responsible for paying 50% of the premium cost for insurance. At this time, we have 12 to 14 staff members that are eligible, with only 2 that are utilizing the insurance. If we modify this insurance eligibility, it would be from .5 FTE to .75 FTE. The district would see an estimate of over $35,000 in savings for the 2022-2023 school year. It is our recommendation to modify the insurance eligibility for part-time teachers from .5 FTE to .75 FTE, beginning in the 2022-23 school year.
Okay, that comes to the board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion?
I do have a question. Has HR contacted the 2 staff members that would be affected by this? And they are aware? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Just a heads up, I did get a request from the GEA. They were hoping that we could grandfather in those 2 employees. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think if we grandfathered them in for the next 2 years, but still made the change, I think that gives us significant savings down the road. Just a thought. I just wanted to bring it out there that that was brought to my attention.
Mr. Noah, can you speak to how many employees that this might affect are eligible for insurance versus just the 2 that may take the insurance today?
Yeah, I don't have the exact number with me. It's in the ballpark of 12, but there are 2 that take the insurance. The remaining part-time employees, because of their eligibility to take insurance if they wanted to on a part-time basis, on a prorated basis, they are eligible for cash in lieu. So as part of any grandfathering, we would have to navigate that part of the discussion, because those individuals who are in cash in lieu, in practice, could take insurance. So we would have to consider that.
Is this something that we could gradually transition out of, maybe in year 1, whatever the dollar amount is, and then year 2, it goes up, similar to what we're doing, similar to what we've done in cash in lieu? Is that an opportunity?
Yeah, we would have
Because
to.
eventually it needs to go away, but.
Yeah, we would have to talk about how that would work. If as you're saying it, I'm thinking, you know, a graduated approach could potentially be this year it's 50%, next year it's 55 or 60, you know, so on and so forth. So we could look at it from that perspective. But I would want to explore that, to, you know, formulate an idea there.
And I can only presume that this is part of the budget for this upcoming year, for July 1. So, and if we vote to amend the motion, we've got to come up with $35,000 elsewhere, so.
Russ just said that he would echo that same thought.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to, or you got more?
Yep, I do have
going.
more. So the second thing we discussed was modification to the mentor program. Right now, we have mentees that get an hourly rate of about $20.50 per hour to meet with their mentor. This happens outside of school time and equates to between 10 and 15 hours a year. Administration had talked about the fact that being a mentor should be part of their professional development, or personal professional development, and there is a cost savings to the district. However, we don't actually have a defined amount because we do not always know how many new teachers we will have. So the recommendation is to eliminate the hourly pay for mentees for their involvement in the mentor program for new teachers.
Okay, that comes with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
All right, and the third thing we discussed, actually in August of 2021, the Personnel Committee met and discussed and approved that the cash in lieu benefit would go down on a yearly basis. And a survey of 21 area school districts revealed that 10 of the school districts do not actually even offer cash in lieu for teachers or administrators anymore. A reduction to the cash in lieu for the 2022-2023 school year would result in nearly $50,000 savings to the school district. Our recommendation is to reduce the cash in lieu amount for eligible employees from $4,100 to $3,700 beginning in August of 2022.
That comes at board with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Do we have discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
No,
Okay, we have one more item that'll come up a little later.
it will.
Okay. Moving on to Finance Committee, update from June 13th. Mr. Barney.
Yeah, I can handle that since Mr. Loth is unavailable this evening. At the June 13th Finance Committee meeting, we approved June vouchers, reviewed the May budget variance report, got a preliminary look at the 2022-2023 budget. Got an update on ESSER spending and sent forward a couple motions, which you'll hear about shortly. Another item under Finance Committee that did not come from the committee is item B, resolution authorizing a taxable tax and revenue anticipation promissory note for cash flow purposes in an amount not to exceed $4.1 million. Brittany?
Can you hear me? Yep, okay. So twice a year, once in summer and once in fall, we come to the board and ask for approval to get a line of credit through our current JP Morgan Chase Bank due to cash flow purposes. As you see on the exec summary, that amount is decreasing every year because we are, as you know, have a goal to increase our fund balance and hopefully eliminate these borrowings. It did come to the Finance Committee. It did not have a motion, not because the Finance Committee did not have a motion, but because legal says that it has to come straight to the board for the motion, so there has to be discussion, or offered discussion. So there is a motion in front of you today to approve a max of $4.1 million that will be paid off immediately as soon as we get our state aid.
And that's down from $5 million last year?
Correct.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a taxable tax and revenue anticipation promissory note for cash flow purposes in an amount not to exceed $4.1 million.
Second.
Mr. Barney and Mr. Pollock, second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
All right, moving on, a couple of motions that Finance Committee is bringing forward is item C, discussion and action to approve ESSER 3 Part A allocation. Finance Committee brings forward with a positive recommendation to approve the use of up to $57,167.57 of ESSER 3 Part A allocation for UV lighting.
That comes with a positive recommendation. It does not require a second. Any discussion? I think this is the last buildings that we needed to upgrade. Is that correct? So our buildings, our air and filtration is completely up to date. It's good news. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
All right, and Finance Committee brings forward with a positive recommendation, a recommendation to approve the CISA 1 contract amendments for the 2021-2022 school year.
That comes with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item 8, Teaching and Learning Committee. Updates from June 13, 2022 meeting. Russ, it's you.
Yeah, it's me. Everyone can hear me?
Yep.
So, Director of Teaching and Learning, Chris Reuter, led discussions on the curriculum review process. I apologize, I have the wrong notes in front of me. On the professional development process and structure. During this, he identified four key areas in regards to the development of a professional development plan in regards to developing consistent approach to the unit assessment design K through 8 units of study. That's area 1. Area 2, development and publish transparent curriculum by discipline in grades K through 8. And area 3, develop common formative and summative assessment in stages 2. Apologize, I lost my track here. Stages 2, department understanding by design plans and courses 6 through 12. Area 4 is accessibility of instructional materials to all learners. And Area 5, continued educational instruction technology best practices to support district-wide initiatives and increase student engagement. And I believe this is a continuation of his process to lay out the structures in regards to not only curriculum, but the professional development of our staff to aid in that deliverance of the curriculum. He continued with a 4K update. Potential enrollment appears to be about 165 4K students across all of the elementary schools. And it looks like we're on track to continue that. And then he provided an update in the process of the hiring of the new director of teacher and learning. Chris, if you're there and have any, clarify any of that a little bit better from my chicken scratch here, I'd appreciate it.
I think you captured the essence of the meeting, really around the professional development piece, our continued work with 4K as we launch that in the fall, and then the fulfillment of the Director of Teaching and Learning, which we'll get to in a later agenda item.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Russ. Item 9, Insurance Committee, Mr. Marnie.
Yeah, Insurance Committee met this evening. We received an update from our insurance consultant, USI. They've narrowed down the field to 2 candidates and hope to have that finalized after a meeting with them on July 11th. In both cases, they both offer a nationwide network that's similar to WEA with at least a 97% match for existing doctors. So that's good that almost everyone should be able to continue to see the providers that they use today. Other than that, a couple other big notes. The business office should not have to hire additional staff in order to do the claims processing. And if we go forward with self-funding insurance, any savings that we realize can't be reallocated to something else, at least through the first 3 years, because we have to build up sufficient reserves to support the self-funding insurance. The current timeline says USI should have a recommendation to us, the committee, by next month, at which point I would expect the committee will make a recommendation to the board, and then we'd either move forward with implementation of self-funding insurance, or we'd go out to bid for full funded insurance.
Sounds like our timing was pretty good, considering WEA is canceling their program at the end of the year.
Right.
So, good job on that. Any other?
That's it from committee.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, discussion and action to approve teacher contracts. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. We have 2 contracts to bring forward tonight. First of all, Chris Tim, business education teacher at Germantown High School. Chris is being recommended for this position as a result of a teacher resignation. This is a regular contract at $62,500. Second is Susan Otto, German teacher at Germantown High School. Susan is being recommended for this position as a result of staffing needs. This is a .4 part-time position at $26,800. We ask for approval of 1.0 regular contract for Chris Tim at $62,500 and a part-time contract for Susan Otto at $26,800.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve as presented.
Second?
Amanda and Mr. Barney, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item B, discussion and action to approve administrator contract for Director of Teaching and Learning. Dr. Southland.
Yeah, I'm just going to have the Director of Teaching and Learning introduce the Director of Teaching and Learning.
Based on the timeline of your appointment of me to take over for Dr. Stousland in a couple days, we had a posting on WeCan that was open for a little over 2 weeks. We had 27 applicants. Of the 27, I believe 25 were sitting principals or administrators in districts around the region, and a few out of state. From there, the director team and myself built out a rubric and criteria, as well as using feedback from our community survey and teachers survey to really look at attributes we wanted to see in the next Director of Teaching and Learning. From there, we brought in 5 candidates for a virtual interview screener process, and 3 candidates rose to the top from there. It's 2 weeks ago now, we had a community-based group and a teacher principal group at MacArthur meet and interview each of the 3 candidates separately so that we could build a community-based approach. Mr. Ewert and Mr. Loth were on that team, as well as parent representation and Ms. Altendorf and myself. Each candidate was given an issue organizer of an issue at hand based on the feedback and the surveys we received, and they had to walk us through their thought process, how they'd collaborate with the school board, how they collaborate with community, how they collaborate internally, administratively, as well as with teaching staff, and then that was open to conversation and questions from the interview teams. Likewise, the same thing transpired with our teacher principal group, and that was a more instructional-based issue organizer. From there then, candidates, there was debriefing in each of the groups. Candidates rotated between the two groups, so they spent a good 2+ hours interviewing between the two groups, which led then to debriefing. From there, clear-cut candidate rose to the top. This evening, we have Mr. Jake Miziak here that we'd like to move forward with offering the role of Director of Teaching and Learning in the Germantown School District and help lead out the goals and the vision of this district moving forward for some time to come. So I know you all had a chance to meet him prior to the meeting, but it is a positive recommendation from the administrative team to you as a school board.
Excellent. Jake, would you like to come up and introduce yourself to the community?
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate the opportunity to join the Germantown School District. Through the interview process, Chris has kind of outlined a lot of steps that were involved, but all of those steps led me to a better understanding of Germantown and some of the work that's going on, and I think there's a lot of exciting work that we're going to embark on, and I very much look forward to the opportunity to continue the work that Chris has started.
Very good. That comes to the board with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second? Are we
No,
looking-
it
okay.
does.
All right, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll take a shot at the recommendation.
Pause 1 second. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, you're
Perfect,
good.
Russ.
Okay, I'll make the motion to approve the hire of Jake Masinek, apologize if I butchered that, as Director of Teaching and Learning for the Germantown School District, provide him with a 2-year contract for the 22-23, 23-24 school years. The salary of the 22-23 school year will be $128,000.
Second.
Just a note, we need a friendly amendment on that. His first year contract will be prorated because of a contract issue with his other district. So just for clarification.
Okay, I will add that amendment.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think the hire date is not July 1, it's July 14th.
Yes,
So,
yes.
Plus
July
there's-
14th would be Jake's first contracted day with Germantown.
Plus the district is allowing, what, 4 days for,
For some transition time, yes,
Great.
4 days. So Jake, through July 1 to that start date, will work together to figure out those dates to come and get onboarded. And we met this morning as a director team to start the process of an onboarding plan for Jake to be successful right away.
Very good.
yeah, I think it's great, Jake, that you're joining us. We've got beautiful facilities, a great staff, great teachers, and wonderful kids. So I look forward to the many accomplishments that you're going to have going forward, so.
Yeah, the community is very supportive. The interview process was very thorough, as I'm sure you can attest to. You got to meet the entire board either through the interviews or tonight as well. You're a very impressive candidate, and we look for big things from you. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'd like to add just a thank you to Chris for being the architect of the interview and search process to fill this position. I felt it was engaging, specifically with the surveys as well as the 2 panels. Really I think we did our due diligence on that end to help include as many people as we could. I just wanted to say thank you for that. And through that interview process, I got to meet Jake, and I'm very excited for his enthusiasm to come into this district for all the right reasons and provide the best environment for our kids.
Okay. Thank you, Russ. Who is the second, by the way?
Tracy.
Mr. Paul? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard. Okay, moving on to item C, discussion and action to approve administrative contract for assistant principal at the high school. Mr. Ryder.
Yes, Dave Smith, who you just met a few minutes ago as our academic and career planner and dean, was one of, I believe, 60-plus applicants, 66 applicants that Mr. Farron and his team here at the high school interviewed. And through screeners and then on-site finalists, Dave rose to the top. He's demonstrated, as you saw this evening, in a short period of time, a very go-getter attitude and visionary, and we're excited to add him to our high school team in a newer capacity with more responsibility, but also knowing that skill set we saw this evening around academic and career planning, engaging our community, and how we can kind of morph the two positions together while still keeping the dean position as well in place, as there's a need for that as well. So we'll be working with Mr. Farron and the admin team at the high school over the summer to kind of work through roles and responsibilities and what that looks like, as well as fill that dean position as well.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the hire of David Smith as assistant principal at Germantown High School and provide him with a 2-year contract for the 2022, 2023, and 2023-24 school years. The salary for the first year, 2022-2023 school year, will be $88,000. Do I also need to add in there that we will be backfilling the Dean of Students position?
You could, sure.
Okay. And also that we will be backfilling that Dean of
Very good.
Students position.
Second.
Bob, second. Any discussion?
Yes. Dave, you're replacing some really big shoes. A guy who was a fellow Bear. Chicago Bear. So my question to you is, are you a Chicago Bear fan or a Packer fan? I'm diehard Packers. Good for you.
Good answer.
I'll still vote for you.
Any further discussion?
I've heard great things with David. Although I haven't gotten to meet him in person, it does sound like he'll be a great fit for this role.
Agreed. Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome aboard. Moving on to item D, discussion and action to approve wage increases for support staff, professional technical staff, and administrators. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. Administration supports a pay rate increase for professional technical, support staff, and administrator groups in an amount equal to 3% over the individual's 2021-22 wage. This would be effective July 1st, 2022, applied to the 22-23 fiscal year. We ask that you approve this 3% increase.
Make a motion to approve the 3% pay increase as presented for the 2022-2023 year, effective July 1, 2022.
Second?
Bob with the motion, Amanda with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
One abstention. Mr. Barney. Thank you. That passes. Item E, resolution authorizing and approving equipment Schedule E to the master lease agreement number 20161991117 with the American Capital Finance Services Incorporated and ratifying all prior school district action related to the authorization of the master lease agreement and equipment schedule.
Yep, we have Justin Baumgartner will
Justin,
speak to that.
welcome.
Thank you. My resolutions only get longer, it seems. So what this is we have done business in the past with American Capital. Back in April, we approved the lease to go forward with signing a lease with American Capital for a yearly Chromebook purchase. As a part of that, we need to have a letter of counsel, and when engaging with our counsel, they said that they could not go back and write that letter of opinion without this resolution. The reason being that the lease agreement references a 2016 lease agreement that we had with them. Unfortunately, we don't have on record that particular process ratified through board minutes or other publicly available documentation. So all this resolution does is us going back, ratifying the original 2016 lease agreement so that we can move forward with the letter of counsel for this current lease agreement and proceed with the lease as planned.
Okay, any questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize and approve Equipment Schedule E to the Master Lease Agreement Number 20161991117 with American Capital Financial Services Incorporated and ratify all prior school district action relating to this authorization of the Master Lease Agreement and Equipment Schedule.
Second?
Mr. Barney with the motion and Ms. Reinman with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item F, discussion and action to approve pupil services and special education coordinator positions. Mr. Lamb?
Mr. Nowak.
Mr. Nowak?
I'll start us off. Just over the last several weeks, we've talked quite a bit about the use of ESSER funds to support student needs. Mr. Lamb is going to speak to two positions that we feel does just that. And they meet our needs relative to, or qualifications relative to using ESSER 3 Part B funds. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Lamb.
So to follow up on what Mr. Nowak was sharing, we have a unique opportunity to repurpose one of our school psychologist positions into a pupil services coordinator position and then create a special education coordinator position with the intentions of both being to make progress towards meeting the mental health needs of our students as well as closing any of the achievement gaps that have occurred as a result of the last couple of years of disruption to routine instruction, which is consistent with the purpose of ESSER.
That is welcome news. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the posting and filling of a 1.0 FTE pupil service coordinator position and a 1.0 FTE special education coordinator position beginning with the 2022 and 2023 school year.
Second.
Amanda with the motion, Tom with the second. Any discussion?
Yep, clarification. So the way I understand this is that these positions, because they're leveraging ESSER funds, in our background says limited term of 2 years, and that in the future we'll determine whether or not they could be supported by the special education or general fund. Do we need language in that motion to review, make sure it gets reviewed so that these positions don't just simply get carried over and we need to budget for them rather than have them reviewed to see, what kind of progress we're making?
I would think that when the candidates are selected and they come forward with a contract to approve, that at that point, it would be listed as limited term, because that's how some have been presented to us in the past.
Some things to think about too as we're discussing this is we do have some of the funds for this because there were two positions, right? So it's just taking those extra funds for the coordinator positions from ESSERS to bring to them, to bring to the position. So there is money there for them. It's not that it's not, it's just not enough for the coordinator title.
One of the positions, the pupil services coordinator position, is already in the staffing plan that was brought forward for next year. So it's really only adding one position. It's just coming up with a different funding mechanism for the pupil services position.
And I would just say that, or add that during the budget process, which we're fortunately coming to the end for this upcoming fiscal year, that if positions are at risk because of lack of funding, that'll be highlighted to the board for appropriate action, so.
I do have another question. Do we have job descriptions for these positions yet?
This is the summary of the job descriptions, but yes, we do have this in a little more detail.
Okay, thank you. Oh, hold on one second, Russ. Go ahead.
So my question in this scenario would be, if we're replacing one of the psychologists, are we losing anything in that replacement?
There's going to be some offloading of what the school psychologist role currently entails to the new position. There'll still be we'll have to continue to be creative about how that works. But
It'll be kind of a dual role, from what I understand with conversations with you guys, right? They will still have that, their initial job, and then they will have that extra part.
yes, to some extent,
Okay.
yes.
Does that help, Russ?
Well, I know why we have the opening at that position to switch it over to a new title and set of responsibilities. And with the issues that took place there, are we worried about piling more onto that same person, or obviously a different person, but in that position under a new title of still lacking the services we need out of it?
We're going to need to be mindful about how those existing school psychologist positions work with the pupil services coordinator position, and the idea is to take some of what they do and move it over to the special ed coordinator position, and then have some additional capacity for the special ed coordinator position as well.
So you see these positions as lessening the responsibilities of the remaining two psychologists so they can concentrate on their more specific goals?
The goal is to be able to increase their capacity to some degree by creating this additional position.
Okay, so we're taking stuff off there, even though we're going from 3 to 2, we're minimizing your responsibility by creating these two positions.
The goal is by creating the one additional position to be increasing the capacity of the remaining 2.6 plus 1 coordinator position.
Did you get that, Russ?
Okay, yeah, no, I
Okay.
did, I'm sorry.
Okay. Nope, you're good.
Just finishing the thought.
Yep.
Okay, anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item G, discussion and action to approve summer IEP diagnostic contracts.
And this is a continuation of an item that was brought earlier this summer for students who are having special education evaluations completed and making sure we have the staff in place to complete those evaluations. So these are additional staff members that will be necessary. They're on at least one new IEP evaluation that'll need to be completed over the summer.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the contracts as stated.
Second.
Amanda with the motion, Bob with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none? Russ, sorry?
Hold on, Russ.
Oh,
I got a dual job here tonight. Go ahead.
I'm just looking at the list of names regarding the hours. I see some maybe employees of other districts, as well as former employees of ours. Is that any issue in regards to holding multiple jobs in different districts?
Mike is shaking his head no.
And I would use the
Okay.
example of, like, with summer school, we often have people that will work, one school district, but then during summer school, they'll work elsewhere.
Okay, sounds good. I mean, the names that I recognize are great people, so glad to have them back for several hours at least.
Anything further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item H, discussion and action to approve extended school year contracts. Mr. Lyon.
And there are a couple of staff members here that, as a result of more recent IEP meetings and needs for a limited amount of service to continue throughout the summer to minimize regression and time for recoupment in fall, these two staff members are part of those IEP teams and are the service providers for some extended school year services that are student-specific for the summer.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the contracts as presented.
Second.
Bob and Mr. Pollock with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item I, discussion and action to approve donations. Dr. Stoughton, you gonna do something tonight?
Yeah. Well, it's the first time in a month, maybe, I don't know. I'd ask the board to approve the following 10 donations. Germantown High School PTA donation of $1,500 towards the Greenhouse Green Space Project. Germantown Kiwanis Club donation of $350 to the Germantown High School Yearbook Club. Gathering on the Green and donated $350 to the Germantown High School Choir Program. Legacy Subs, donation of $400 to the Germantown High School DECA Program. And Damien and Christine Shepard, donation of $1,000 to the High School Girls Swim and Dive Program. Shepherd Arms, donation of $1,000 to the Germantown High School Girls Swim and Dive Program. Just Killing Time, donation of $1,000 to the Germantown High School Girls Swim and Dive Program. And Shepherd Trucking, donation of $1,000 to the Germantown High School Girls Swim and Dive Program. And the last two are Germantown Ace Hardware, donation of $250 to the High School Skills USA Program, and Hammer Design Group, donation of $300 to the High School Skills USA Program.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the donations as presented and thank the donors for their generous contributions.
Second.
Bob with motion, Amanda with a second. Any discussion?
I would just add that I was been pushing the button all night, advancing the slides.
He did do something.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you're doing a wonderful job.
Do you need a sling for your arm? Need some help over there? Thank you for that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. We have a backtrack to item E, discussion and action to approve supplemental contracts.
Thank you. You have before you a listing of supplemental teacher contracts for 22-23. And just as review, this is something we go through each year. These particular contracts cover July to June. So this starts sort of this cycle of supplemental contracts. In the listing are social workers, school psychs, and counselors. You'll note that there's one reference to a master scheduler. That's one of our counselors at the high school. We ask that you approve the noted supplemental contracts for the 22-23 school year.
I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the supplemental teacher contracts as presented.
Second.
Amanda and Tom with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Amanda and Mr. Pollak. Any
Discussion.
discussion?
Yes. I want to thank Dr. Southland. This is your last board meeting. You've got a wonderful opportunity ahead of you. You will be missed. You did a lot of wonderful things here. And it was
Thank you.
wonderful getting to know you. So
Yeah.
good luck.
Thank you.
I will concur. We've had some rocky times in the last couple of years while you were here, and you kind of navigated us through those waters, rough waters, quite nicely, and your help has been much appreciated. We wish you all the best.
Thanks.
You have
Thank you.
definitely left your imprint on Germantown.
Absolutely.
So don't forget that. It's been short-lived, but you have. You definitely have. So thank you for everything you've done and helped us with.
Thank you.
I think you paved the way to bring in some good people as well.
At least a couple.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:08. Thank you all for coming, and drive home safely.